between God and science. Today, we'll be venturing into math. And in math, we'll be looking at the equation of a circle. Hello. Equation of a circle. So typically, what we usually have in circles, the general form is is equal to 9, is equal to 4, is equal to 16, is equal to 25. Basically, the equated to figure represents the squared radius, okay? Now, let's say you've been given an equation of a circle that is slightly more complex and you are asked to find the radius. What do you do? How are you going to solve such a question? So this is what you are supposed to do, and this is how you make it easy. So generally, we will start with how this equation is derived. So giving us A representing the value of our coefficients, you see y plus y minus a squared is equal to our radius squared, which is the 9. Okay? The 9 is just an example to show you. It's the r squared. So when we expand this, what we get is x squared minus 2a x plus a squared plus y squared minus this, do forgive me, is supposed to be b, that way we can differentiate it properly. 2b y plus b squared. And then all this is equal to our radius squared. What then do we do to move onwards? What then do we do to move forwards from this expression? So from this expression we get the values of A as parts of a formula. But what formula? We are going to use them in the formula to come up with the center. So the value of x in the center, I will assign the letter E. So the center, this x value is E, and E will be equal to the coefficient of x in the function of this function of r squared. So the coefficient of x is 2a, and this is divided by 2 and has to be multiplied by a negative. Clearly we can see that. Then my function gives me the y value of the center as this. G is the letter I'm choosing. You can make it T if you like, Travis, I don't know. So G is the letter I'm choosing. Negative is always a constant in this expression. And then you get the coefficient of y, which is 2b, and this has to be divided by 2. I know some of you are thinking this is division, there is a 2, why aren't we dividing? So we run with b and then have that as negative. The answer is very simple. The 2 and the b are a constant, are one number, are not actually a product. They are there as one number. For example, you might challenge me to say 6 divided by 2 is a product of 2 and 3. Why don't we leave it as 6 over 2, but sometimes we say 3? Well, you see why. Giving us this equation for the center, we derive as well our radius function as this. So r will be equal to the square root over, since this is E, I'll term it as E squared plus G squared minus the constant in the equation, the constants in the equation, which is the a squared plus the b squared. The a squared plus the b squared, standing in for one single constant, I choose to express them as c. Okay? Let's look at an example. So, provided you've been given the question to say what is the center and derive or determine the radius of the function, x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 2y plus 8 is equal to 0. For this equation, for this expression, we follow our basic steps. It has already been expanded out for us. So what we have to do now is determine the values of a to give us the values of e, which is the center value for x. So I'll say e is equal to negative 2a divided by 2, and g is equal to 2b over 2. b is the coefficient of y, a is the coefficient over x. So I substitute. X is 8, so I'll have 8 over 2, and here the coefficient of b is negative 2. Okay? So with this expression, with these values, I clearly determine my x value being represented by e as negative 4, and here my y as a negative psi is 1. Take note that when negatives multiply, you will be met with a positive. Elementary math. Given these two values, we therefore conclude that x in the center is negative 4 and y is 1. This gives us the center to such a beautiful equation. Then, how do we get the radius? We define the radius equation and we just substitute our details. So r is equal to the square root of e squared plus g squared minus c. Okay? So with this simple formula, all we do is substitute the values of e and g, and c is our constant, 8. So we get the square root of negative 4 squared is simply 16. G squared, which is 1, is simply 1. And then 8. This is a simple arithmetic progression, which, not a progression, arithmetic construction. So we look at this and say we get a 9. Okay? The square root of 9 is 3. Okay? And therefore our radius would be 3 units. So these are our answers, which can be written in whatever choice of the representation you choose. So take note, if the expression has not been expanded for us, we have to expand, but if it has, all we have to do is go straight into substituting the information for our details to get the radius as well as the center. Okay, now on to a more interesting question, one which will require us to expand. Looks like the Choke was afraid of the equation, so it snapped out. We are going to now look at x squared plus y minus 1 in bracket squared minus 25 as the equation of the circle. We've been asked to find the center and the radius. So this is what we do. We will say the expansion of y minus 1 squared. So we get x squared plus y squared minus 2y plus 1 minus 25 is equal to 0. In this expression, we see that x is not present. So what do? What does it mean? In an expansion like this, we know the general form x has a coefficient of negative 2a. But it's not there. It simply means that a is 0, and therefore we have to write it in that sort. So we say x squared plus y squared plus 0x minus 2y plus, no, it's not plus, this is an arithmetic progression of say negative 24, 0, okay? So in this form, we now substitute our values into the x value of the center, which is this, and the y value of the center, which is this. Okay, so in this expression now what we do is we get the value of x, which is 0. So 0 divided by 2, clearly here our e ends up to be 0. And our g on the other hand has got the value of b, which is negative 2. So we say negative 2 over 2. Here we get 1. And here we get 0. Therefore, my center is 0, 1. This is how I will get my center. Allow me to erase this. You can feel free to pause the video and copy it down for the sake of revision. Next, we are on to the adventure of finding the radius. So the radius, as we have already been alluded to, it is this simple equation minus the c. If you feel comfortable with defining c, you can clearly take it as from the function that which we expanded, not the 25. So we substitute, remembering that our e, what was our e? Our e was 0. Our g, what was our g? Our g was 1. And our c was negative 24. This negative and that negative 24 will tangle. When they do tangle and have their dance, the night comes out to be 1 plus 24, giving us 25. And the square root of 25, clearly and easily peasy, is 5, and therefore our radius will simply be 5 units. And this is how we get to play with the equation of a circle. This has been There Is a Link Between Math and Science, and welcome into this world of math with me. Feel free to subscribe, feel free to like and share the video if you see it has helped, because it has been a numerous help. Good day.